If you are chasing permanent residency in Australia, every single decision matters, even the state you live in. 4 years into my journey here in Australia, I decided to completely change my life. I left the city rush of Sydney for a slow-paced life in Hobart, Tasmania. Hey guys, I'm Yanj and welcome to another episode of A Decade Down Under, where I give you right tools and all the lessons that I've learned in the past 10 years. Today, I want to talk about everything that I loved and didn't love about living in Tasmania and how it shaped my permanent residency journey here in Australia. Hopefully, if you're thinking about moving regional, this will help you decide if Tasmania is the right choice for you. Firstly, why did I move to Tasmania? To be honest, Tasmania was never even in my peripheral vision until my best friend moved to Tasmania for her permanent residency. She got 489 visa with an offer letter. It was actually at that time. Afterwards, it was really getting harder and harder to get permanent residency with a bachelor's in accounting degree. So what I did was I actually visited my best friend in Tasmania and spent about 5 days. Remember, it was around March. Tasmania is so beautiful, filled with nature. In 20 minutes, you can get into a forest, beach, you can see mountains. So it is truly, truly stunning, and it really reminded me of Nepal as well. To be honest, when I was driving up to see Mount Wellington, I was actually like almost in tears of how beautiful it was and how much it reminded me of back home. But also it was very slow paced. I remember even on a Thursday night, everything was closed down by 4 p.m. A lot of things have changed now, but I did understand how slow my life was gonna get if I were to move in Tasmania. My mindset was, if I get a job in Tasmania, then I will move. Before even deciding if I'm gonna go or not, I started interviewing for jobs. Luckily, I made a second trip to Tasmania when I went and did interviews for the job. I was able to land a job because the guidelines for the 489 visa subclass, which doesn't exist anymore, by the way, I think it's now kind of changed a little bit and called 491. So mine's a bit different. So I had to just work for 6 months in that particular role, and then I would be able to apply for 489, and I could go straight from my temporary visa, which is 485 to 489. Secondly, what did I like about my life in Tasmania? My life in Sydney was very fast-paced, competitive. It was definitely a rat's race, especially after graduating. You know, I was rushing to get internship. I was rushing to complete professional year, and my life had just been consumed by all those things. However, my life in Tasmania was definitely slowed down, and it gave me a lot of time to spend with my best friend. The other thing that I really like about Tasmania is it has that really tight-knit Nepalese community, multicultural communities. They work so well hand in hand, and you really feel welcomed as well by them. But one of the biggest change for me was in Sydney. I was at the sharing apartment, even sharing a room, until I moved to Tasmania, and me and my best friend had rented this massive space with this stunning view. If I can, I will add a photo of the view, but also lived quite close to the city. Some of the places that I lived in, and you guys can also make a note of it, because these suburbs were stunning. Like for me, it was perfect. Lena Valley, what I loved about that was like a little grocery shop was close by. There was a pizza shop there, cafe, and it was quite close to bus stop as well. And then second suburb that I lived in is West Hobart, and it's just 15-20 minutes walk to city, and I was walking to work every single day with a stunning sunrise. All the houses are like historical houses, and just when you go down South Hobart, it's all really, really beautiful. So I would really recommend, if you are going to move to Tasmania, just live in these pocket of suburb which are really accessible and beautiful at the same time. Another thing I really liked about Tasmania was cost of living. The rental itself for the space that I was getting, like my own room, like our own house instead of this tiny apartment, but also the activities. Like every activity that I did with my friend in Hobart almost didn't cost me money. We would go camping, we would go hike. You know, there's plenty of trails in Tasmania, and it is so good. Camping particularly, and it was just every time we had holiday, would just drive and go camping, and it would not cost a lot of money because you'd just be doing grocery anyway. So in that term, I was able to save a lot of money. Hence why when I moved out of Tasmania, I was able to buy a house straight away as well. Thirdly, what did I dislike about Tasmania? First year in Tasmania was not as smooth as I had hoped for. I was constantly getting sick because I was just not used to the climate. You know, I was getting hay fever all the time. I just felt like I was just walking down the street and I would fall down. I thought finally my luck had run out. I truly thought that I had made a massive mistake, not because anything was missing, it was just I was getting sick of the weather. One of the first thing I remember saying when I moved to Tasmania was, I wish I was a bit older for the state. One thing I really didn't like about Hobart was the limited opportunity. As much as I love the nature and spending time with my best friend, I was still a 22-year-old who had just graduated and who had so much drive and passion. I had all this competitive energy from Sydney, and there was not really a lot of avenues in Hobart for that. Once I started working as well, there is this thing in, I think, Australian culture, but especially in regional Australia, like in Tasmania as well, with the co-workers, like tall poppy syndrome it's called. Coming from Sydney, when you come from this cutthroat environment, you really want to stand out, you really want to tell your opinions and stuff. So a lot of time that could rub people the wrong way, because I don't know, it's just an Aussie thing, I think, where they want you to be humbled and, you know, not celebrate what, like, the massive thing you're doing. The flip side to that coin is that because in Tasmania not many people are as competitive as you or have that drive for leadership, if you find the right leadership in right places, then that means you could actually climb the ladder pretty quickly. That's actually what happened to me. I got into an environment where people actually like that I was really trying, you know, and I didn't mind looking like a person who was really trying hard. I think there is the pro and cons things, but, you know, if it's this particular specialized thing like IT and things, I think there is a little bit limited opportunity than in mainland. One of the other downside is the Hobart International Airport. There are not many international flights that leaves there, so anytime you have to go to Nepal or make any international flight, you have to fly to mainland. I think the flight also kind of gets a little bit more expensive, and I think that's also something to consider. I think there can also be a little bit of isolation in Tasmania. Tasmania also doesn't have trains, so that means you have to rely on buses, and there are fewer routes. A lot of time it was quite reliable when I had to use it, but to be honest, I think most people do need a car. I think you would have to get a car if you have to travel a little bit more for your work, especially on weekends. You can't really rely on buses. It's also something to consider because buying a car can be a big expense if you are moving to Tasmania. The last point is limited services. It didn't really affect me that much, but I'm just letting you know that obviously there's small shopping centers, and if you're someone who is used to or who needs to shop in this big Westfields and stuff, obviously it's not going to be there. It is quite common practice for people to just fly to Melbourne to do a massive shopping. Fourthly and lastly, why should you move to Tasmania? If you're someone who really values peace or nature, and if you're someone who has been really burnt out and you really think you would benefit by having that slow-paced life, at least for 3 or 4 years while you gain those PR points and properly get your permanent residency in Australia, you will absolutely love Tasmania. It has so much to offer in terms of community as well. I don't know if I've stressed this enough. Even for young entrepreneurs who might get a bit overwhelmed in big cities, I think Tasmania is so good. While you are there, you could also invest in small businesses because the community is so tight-knit, and you can actually, the reach for that community is really big as well. So it's really easy to market, easy to stand out. Yes, and I think the community, how I felt, was really welcomed, and I really gained that sense of belonging in Tasmania. And it is a bonus point, it really reminds me of Nepal. Okay, so I'll actually give you my final 4 advice what you need to do before moving to Tasmania. Number one, visit Tasmania for at least a week before committing so you can get the sense of the lifestyle, the weather, people. Number two is at least try to line up a job before moving to Tasmania or any new place for that matter. It's not only help you financially but also help you get back into a new routine quite quickly as well. This will be really good for your mental health. It will avoid isolations, especially winter depression. It will help you if you already have a job. Believe me on this. Number three, budget for mainland travel. Either you are going international trips and stuff, I briefly mentioned. And number four is prepare for the winter. Winter is coming. It is quite cold. It is beautiful, but it's also cold. So make sure to pack those warm clothes and mentally prepare for winter. Pretty much everyone goes into hibernation during winter. I truly felt like I was really functional, really active for 6 months, and then 6 months I was not doing too much and stuff, and that was kind of the norm. You know, you would be cuddled up in bed with your heater on and stuff. You definitely have to think twice about that. Other than that, Tasmania is beautiful. Was everything for me. I found literally everything there. Sorry guys, the light change was pretty distracting, but for me Tasmania was the turning point. It really helped me save more but also appreciate a life with nature, community and poetry. I also got opportunity to be in this leadership role so quickly and be on both sides of the table. Actually, in my next video, I'm going to teach you what to say in these interviews, because if you are going to regional and looking for these jobs before moving, then that could be really helpful. But any questions related to Tasmania, please comment down below. I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.